this exhibit was put together by one of our board members and our curator. Our curator's name is Doug Becky, and the board member was Steve Osmond. And Steve was the director down at Fort Snelling for almost 30 years, and is an avid collector and on our board of directors. So some of the stuff here, typically at the museum, we don't have, unless it's a special exhibit, and this is a special exhibit, so we have stuff that's on loan from a couple different people.
Sure.
So some of the stuff here, all the stuff on the bottom here, is all battlefield litter from Gettysburg.
Wow.
Which is, stuff that was picked up. And the one piece that's pretty impressive, if you've ever studied Gettysburg, people that have studied Gettysburg, the first Minnesota was pretty much save the day, the second day of the battle at Gettysburg. Mm-hmm. And if you read this, during that charge, in a period of, I'm just looking at here, the 262 men charged, only 47 were alive or unwounded 15 minutes later. At 83%, the highest percentage of casualties of any Union regiment in any one fight during the war. And that's still a legend out there at Gettysburg. And that flag right there is the largest piece of the battle flag that they carried into the charge. And 3 guys were either killed or wounded hauling that flag as they charged. And they're shooting at point blank. I mean, there's a couple different things here. That belt buckle is kind of indicative of damage. There's something in here where 2 bullets actually met in midair.
Met in midair?
Yeah, I mean, the volleys, when you figure these troops...
What are the odds of something like that happening?
I think it happened a lot because these troops were standing, 20, 30 yards at a time, standing up at each other and shooting at each other, so it probably happened a fair amount. And then the other piece of this is we talk about Minnesota's other civil war.
That's the part that I was wondering about. I saw that in the press release. Can you kind of explain a little bit about what that is?
Minnesota's other civil war is basically the civil war with the Dakota. And in 1862, when the Dakota were fighting the settlers, and they came almost to St. Cloud. I mean, in some of the reading I've done, they were in Sauk Center, and more people were killed during that, more white settlers and Indians were killed in that battle than basically any other Indian campaign in the United States. They're not sure of the numbers. They guesstimated over 1,000 settlers that were killed, but they're not even sure. And the same with Native Americans and the Dakota. So,
wow.
And what happened, what was happening is a lot of the troops that were Minnesota troops that were formed, the regiments that were formed in Minnesota, would be trained. Basically, their first assignment would be the frontier forts, and so they were getting experience on the frontier in Minnesota. And so when they then deployed down to the Civil War battles, they were much better drilled and much better trained than some of the other regiments that were just coming in green, because they had been, they had more of an opportunity to train and to practice their skills.
So how long have you guys been open with the new exhibit?
This new exhibit opened up in July of last year. We had about 1,000 people here that day. We had a grand opening exhibit. I'm surprised you guys didn't. We had some news releases out and stuff then that we shot out.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't hear about that either.
Yeah, I sent one out. I sent one down to you, but it's okay.
Probably went to Jim.
Any free advertising we can get is great. And this time of year we're open 7 days a week, which is key. So 7 days a week, including all the holidays. So that's kind of a key point. And this year I'm kind of excited because we do have, it's kind of hit and miss because I don't have a lot of them yet, but I've got volunteer docents and tour guides. And in fact, one of the guys that's going to be here tomorrow is a retired teacher. He's living down by Great Eagle, and he'll be dressed up in period costume. So he'll be in Civil War costume. And the classes that come through tomorrow, he's going to take through, and he's going to go through some different things with them. He's going to show them how to load a musket, and he's going to talk about the actual how they had to load, and people are charging and they're loading. And he did this for years in his classes, and he retired from teaching, I think, a year or two ago, and he taught down in the cities, and came up here and he's retired up by Grey Eagle, and he's been put lesson plans together for us, and he's done quite a bit. So we've got some really sharp people. The doc from Brainerd is an avid history guy.
Cool.
And he's coming down, and so he's helping lead tours, because before this we just had maybe one staff, and so it's nice to have the additional support. Mm-hmm. And the kids, when you go outside, you can see the kids playing on the tanks. They just,
I would go play on the tanks.
Do you want to go play on the tank?
I would.
Do you want to get in the helicopter? We'll open it up for you. We'll open a helicopter, maybe take you for a little ride.
I was actually here for Media Day, Earth Day,
Oh, yeah.
and I flew in the Black Hawk.
You got to fly in Black Hawk.
Yep.
Good for you.
I edged out the CC.
This museum represents all branches of service from, frontier days to the present time. And we'll walk you through the rest of the museum. This is kind of our special exhibit room in here. And, this will be here for what would be the period of the Civil War. So in 4 years, we'll take this exhibit down. And then with our next exhibit in here that's planned is World War I, because it'll be 100.
So you're kind of doing a chronological thing.
Right, it'll be the 100-year anniversary of World War I. And so we'll run that for the period of World War I, at least, approximately 3 to 4 years. And
So you're doing, it's kind of like a national survey almost, but then you localize it with the Minnesota history.
there's always Minnesota stories, and that's what it is. It's, we don't really, when people donate artifacts, some stuff we'll take, but it has to have somewhat of a Minnesota connection. And what I've learned, and I've only been here since May, I retired from DNR, I was an enforcement guy, so. You know Rich Rouse?
Yes.
Rich Rouse worked for me. In
Oh.
Rich is, his office is right over here.
Uh-huh.
And so Rich was, so I kind of, anyway. So I've learned that it's not the stuff, it's the story that goes with the stuff. So, you can go in the other room and we can, we can show you some of the stuff, but it's the story. That's what makes museums interesting. Absolutely. Lots of stuff, but when this bullet, killed this guy, and here's a story about this guy. It's pretty neat stuff.